Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna and welcome to all devotees online. Thank you very much for your kind presence. As we continue associating with Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 5, verses 20 to 29. Vidura talk with Maitreya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Bhagana Raghunatham Itam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padans Bhagana Lalita Shri Vishwakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dena Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. तप्त कंचन गौरंगी वादे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी वस्तुत्यादि सतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे सर्वशास्त्र पीयूषा सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्व सिद्धांतरात्नाद्य सर्वलोकाय त्रिप्रदा सर्व भागवत प्राण श्रीमद् भागवतो प्रभु कलिद्वंदो दिदादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवार्तिता O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O you enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O light breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga, the actual Lord Krishna who has returned amongst us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshasharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastute, O Srimad Bhagavatam. Offer respectful obeisance to you. By reading, you want to attain transcendental bliss. For your soul was rain pure love God upon the Veda. You are always to be served by everyone for your incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madekabando Mad Sange Mad Guru Mad Mahadana Mad Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namastute, O Srimad Bhagavatam. O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer respectful obeisance to you. Asadu sadhu tadai tini chochatar kahanamun chakada chinmam premna ritkatayospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam. O give us saintliness to the unsaintly, uplift the very fallen. Please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest Mahatma truth. Accompany pure love of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya Yathonvayaritartas Charte Swadigna Swarat. तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादि कवये मुयन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वरिमृदं यथा विनिमयो यत्प्रातिर्सद्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुकं सत्यं परं धीमहि. O my Lord, Shri Krishna, Son of Vasudev, O pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge under the heart of Brahmaji, the original being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed in illusion, as one is bewildered by illusive presentation of water seen in fire, land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existing and transcendental abode, which is forever free from illusory representation of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute. Prana Upasha Sabya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Upadrita. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, many but short lives, the quarrelsome, lazy, muscadine, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Narayam Namaskritya Narachevam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jay Mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obedience unto the personality of God in Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasa, the author. Savai Pumsa Parodharmo Yatho Bhaktira Dokshajay. Ahitukiya Pratyata Yatma Suprasiddhati, the supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jana Yatyusa Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personal of the Goddess Shri Krishna, one immediately causes knowledge and detachment from the world. Vedanti tattata vidas tattvam yach gnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth calls non-dual substance Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. Shushrushodanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsya Vaya Vipra Punyartirtha Nishevanat. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. Shramutam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanar Yadanta Stoya Badrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of God, who is Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor, a true devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotees, develop the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues and properly heard and chanted. Nasta Prashu Badreshu Nitam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Slokir Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. By regular attendance in the classes of the Bhagavatam and rendering of service to the pure devotees, all the disturbance of the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the person of God, and who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Abhyam Swadharmam Parinishtaya Janma Labha Pura Pumsam Ante Narayana Smriti. The highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duties, to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Akama Sarva Kama Va Moksha Kama Udaririti Brena Bhakti Yogena Yajade Purusham Param. A person who has broad intelligence, whether they be full of all material desires, without any material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continuing Srimad Bhagavatam based on the teachings of Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna and welcome again. Let us cover any feedback anyone has from last sessions, anything that caught your attention, anything that you remembered from the last section, which I posted in the chat. Very important section of wonderful verses in this section that we covered. Ramavati Nalanikanta says, fire is never satiated or never satisfied in its consumption of firewood, so a pure devotee of the Lord never hears enough about Krishna. Yes, it's a good test. Sometimes we're hearing about Krishna and we look at the clock, like, can this get done? Time for prasad. I need to go. I've got other more important things to do. So someone who is an advanced, pure soul, pure devotee of the Lord, right? They cannot stop hearing about Krishna. They want to hear and hear and hear and hear and hear. And everything else becomes secondary. In fact, in some cases, not only secondary, non-existent. Sukadev Goswami, he was sitting for 7 days and 7 nights hearing Bhagavatam. And he was hearing, so he started asking questions to Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami started narrating and responding. Sun rises, the sun sets. Now when the sun sets, what do? Okay, home time. I'm going home. Time up. So then you go home to eat and sleep and do the needful. Well, Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, they kept on speaking. 7 days, 7 nights. Absorbed, completely absorbed. In Briyat, in the Bhagavad, in the Bhagavad Mahatmya, glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is the pastime of Gokarna and how they had the Bhagavad Katha, and his brother was in a ghost form. And the only way to become free from this ghostly form was to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So for 7 days, this Bhagavad Katha was there. And at the end of the 7 days, after each day, the ghost was in a bamboo shoot. So in the bamboo shoot, they have knots. There were 7 knots. And after each day, the knot bursts. First knot, second knot, third knot, and then after the 7 days, becomes liberated. And the Vaikuntha aeroplanes come and take him. And after 7 days, all the other sages and those who are hearing, they were wondering, like, hey, what happened to us? Why did I didn't get a ticket? What happened to us? We didn't get visa, ticket. Aeroplane came and took this ghost form back to Godhead. Like, what did we do wrong? And the response was, they were hearing the Bhagavatam, but they had other activities also in mind. So then they had to go home and do other things, whereas the ghost was so desperate, looking for liberation. He was desperately wanting to get out of his situation. He didn't want to do anything but hear attentively. So the ghost's desperation, urgency was more there than the other sages and those that were hearing the audience. And because of that, he got liberated. Whereas the others, they didn't, even though they got benefited by the hearing. So that's important. That we may be hearing, but there may be no rapt attention. So what to talk about, not wanting to stop, but even when we're hearing 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever, our mind needs to be focused, rapt attention. That's why online is not the best. It's actually the worst form of Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because I can't see you. I can't, it's like if you're nodding off, at least if it's live, I can tell you, wake up, stand up. Now, if you're nodding off, I have no clue you nod off, even though you logged on. You're on Zoom session. I can see you, your name is there, but fast asleep. What I'm going to do? So yes, and on Zoom, it's easier to get distracted, right? Just open up another browser, your WhatsApp, your Facebook. Somebody makes a noise, you can go to another room. Yeah, this is the problem. And therefore, we miss the opportunity, even though we are doing the activity. That is why sometimes we may be figuring out why I'm not making advancement. I'm doing everything. Yes, you're doing everything. But what is the focus? Like we generally make this point, the mind cannot multitask. Because when the mind multitasks, it's really breaking attention to one activity to go into another activity. But because it's so fast, Krishna has created this mind in such a powerful way that it's so quick that you think it's continuous. And therefore you think you can multitask. But actually multitask is just split, is like in computer science, you talked about the CPU and splitting the CPU. So the CPU can do 20 tasks, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, so fast that it looks like you're doing 20 tasks concurrently, but you're not doing it concurrently. And that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that attention, that break in attention, or that absorption in that continuous attention, that is what delivers the result. So we need to be attentive to that aspect. Krishna Katha is the only remedy for all people of the world. Srila Prabhupada gave us Lord Chaitanya's formula and can never go wrong. We should have full faith in this, yes. Srila Prabhupada's compassion drove him to sacrifice everything to give us that we have. We need to be more than grateful and accept and reciprocate what he has given us. Yes. The all-inclusive welfare service for the entire world, entire human society is devotional service of the Lord. We don't, when you come to Srila Prabhupada's books, when you come to Srila Prabhupada's movement, you get everything and there's nothing more to get from any other place. Perfection, the process of perfection, the understanding of perfection is all available. Ray Prabhu says, please guide me. And if I'm trying to compassionately learn, study, to understand, practicing, reviving God consciousness, what or how would you advise other public servants who serve members in society and that are failing human understanding for survival, damaging and not embracing the hopes of God consciousness? So what or how would you advise other public servants who serve members in society? We're going to be discussing that in today's purport, so we'll touch on that. But we need to, let's say, stick to Prabhupada's formula, right? So Prabhupada would speak to so many people. One way is to look at the conversations Prabhupada had with different types of people, and you learn Prabhupada's questioning and Prabhupada's guiding them. People of different modes are engaged differently, and therefore there may be different ways to encourage. In some cases, and it's not one cap fits all. It's not like if I use one style, it'll work for everybody. No, we all individuals. That's why preaching is an art, right? It's an art. It's not something that you just, okay, I'm going to repeat this, because it may not work. You need to understand the person. Where is the person coming from? What is his background? What does he know? What does he not know? What's his mindset? What's the philosophy that's driving him? And then using what Prabhupada would, using Prabhupada's questions and techniques, we can now understand, okay, this is like, for example, Prabhupada would meet a Christian pastor. His questioning and his way to preach to that person may be different compared to somebody who's a normal person from the street. At the same time, Prabhupada may meet two pastors, and then also it's different, right? Why? Because they individuals. So the more we pray to Krishna, the more we connect to Krishna, Krishna can also inspire us to say the right things to the right people. Our purity also plays an important role in convincing people. Ultimately, it's about explaining to people, firstly, who they are and what's the benefit of understanding who you are, the challenges of your false identity that you have, what is it causing, and then what is the solution? What is the benefit of Krishna consciousness? That's all we need to do. And explain to people we're servants of Krishna and explain who Krishna is and that we have a duty to them. Now, we share that. We tell them who we are. We're not this body. We are servants of Krishna. If you identify with the body, you suffer birth, death, and old age, and we need to become servants of Krishna. You chant Hare Krishna and you become servants of Krishna. They may not accept that on the first interaction. So you'll need to take prasad and go and cultivate them. Day in, day out, year in, month out, year in, year out, decades in, decades out. If the person is favorable, responsive, questioning, You have to keep giving the prasad and keep giving them association until slowly they transform. It's not an overnight journey. It's not like we'll just go there and people will just take to Krishna consciousness. No, 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 no. It takes effort, takes blood, takes gallons of blood, Prabhupada says. So, out of 100 people that we contact, find the person who is questioning, who's, I want to know, please tell me. Yeah, this is interesting. I read that book. Very interesting. But I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't think it's like this. See, they're curious, they're interested. That's the person you want to cultivate. You meet somebody else. Jesus is the way. Just surrender. Accept Jesus. He died for you on the cross. Leave them. Just move to somebody else. I'm God. I don't believe in all this nonsense. Hodgepodge. Get out of my way. He's telling you, get out of your way. So get out of his way. So you get out. don't stay in his way. You get out. Listen to him. So you get out. See, find those who are innocent, inquisitive, want to know, and cultivate them. Don't waste your time. For many people, you give them a book and you move. Okay? But those who are curious, you want to give them the book and take their number, take their details. Then you want to cultivate them, you want to visit them, take them Mangal sweets, take them prasad. Coach, cultivate. Because when you find somebody who's keen and you keep visiting them, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to become more Krishna conscious. Why? Because you're going to have to repeat everything you heard. So that's the way to really help. That way you're helping yourself, fine-tuning, and you're helping others. Hope that helped. Right, Shamananda says, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Always nice to hear the pastimes of how Yamaraj was cursed to come as Vidura to preach. We take it for granted. Srila Prabhupada's book, Srila Prabhupada said, whatever I have to speak, I have spoken. My books, everything and more is there for us, up to us to appreciate and embrace these gifts. Yes. And again, it's the same point, right? See, yes, we're talking about preaching to others, right? We ourselves need so much preaching. How much preaching did Krishna give to Arjuna? Approximately 45 minutes. And at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna asked him, so Arjuna, what you decided? My Lord, I'm ready to follow what you instruct. Tell me, and I will do. So that was he surrendered. Now for us, 45 years, and we're still struggling. 45 lifetimes, and who knows, we may still be struggling. So yes, we also need that hammering, because as they say, right, thick skull doesn't go in. So we also need the same coaching. That's why there's a difference between Gyan and Vigyan, theory and realized knowledge. Realized knowledge means the bulb goes on. Yes, that's what I need to do. So we need to keep hearing, keep associating, keep serving, keep chanting, keep taking prasad. And one day when the bulb goes on, then you commit and you become more serious and you move forward. As long as you're in touch. So today we're going to be covering 22 to 38, 39. Maitri Rishi describes the process of creation. So remember, Vidura was giving Maitri Muni because Maitri Muni was saying, but it's such a vast ocean. Krishna Katha is such a vast ocean. What must I start? Where must I start? And Vidura started describing, please talk about these things. So now the subject matter starts. Text 22. Atate Bhagaval Lila Yogamaya Rubrimhita Vishwastitya Vishwastityu Bhavantartam Varnanamya Nu Purvasham. I shall therefore describe to you the pastimes by which the personality of Godhead extends his transcendental potency for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic world as they occur one after another. Now, we've heard about creation, first canto, second canto, and again third canto. Can we not just get to the next topic like Rasa Tattva and gopis and Krishna Lila? That's the problem. The Bhagavatam is trying to fine-tune our consciousness. When we get it, when we are totally purified, the same subject of creation will enhance our relationship with Krishna. Just consider. Doesn't Prabhupada also have a intimate relationship with Krishna? So why is he delving into these topics? Why is he commenting on these topics also? He could have just skipped all the 9 cantos and just got to the 10th canto, where the substance and the essence is. The main ashra shelter is there. But no. These topics are relevant, these topics are important. And Prabhupada said, when we talk about Kurukshetra, the Krishna on Battle of Kurukshetra and the Krishna in Vrindavan, same. It's our worshipful Lord. So, when we're hearing these topics again, yes, it fine-tunes our understanding, but at the same time, it's about appreciating who we're surrendering to. Who is Krishna? He's no ordinary personality. So the more we hear about how Krishna's potencies are creating this magnificent creation, it will inspire awe and reverence. It will inspire surrender more and more to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada says, the omnipotent Lord, by his different energies, can perform anything and everything he likes. The creation of the cosmic world is done by his yoga maya energy. First point, he's the omnipotent Lord. We worshiping, we surrendering to this bluish boy called Krishna. He's omnipotent. He's got inconceivable, unlimited potencies. He can do anything and everything. Why wouldn't we surrender to somebody of this caliber? Who can do anything and everything? And when we say, well, okay, Krishna can do anything and everything, then why is not Krishna helping me? Why can't Krishna do this in my life? There's a disjoint. On one hand, we know he can do everything and anything, but we don't want to surrender to such a personality for him to do everything and anything in our life. We still want to hold on to our own agenda, yet we want him to do everything and anything in our life. This is called hypocrisy. This is called diplomacy. And unfortunately, in hypocrisy and diplomacy, Krishna wins. Because he's right there in your heart. So he knows your intention even before the intention exists. And unfortunately, you can't cheat Krishna. Therefore, what happens in your life? Nothing. And when nothing happens, then what happens? Yeah, see, this is not true. This is all brainwashing. So we need to be convinced, then we need to surrender. And when we surrender, we start seeing in our own life, yes, it's a process of surrender. It's not like I'm going to surrender I'm going from 0 to 100 in one night. So as long as I'm increasing my surrendering to Krishna, I will start to see Krishna in my life more and more and more. There are aspects in your life that Krishna is involved that you do not even recognize and see right now. Because it's not like Krishna sends you a WhatsApp, right? I sent you this. I did this. I protected you from this. It would have been worse. This is what you have got from last life. Krishna doesn't send you a WhatsApp, unfortunately. But sometimes Krishna reveals from the heart and inspires you and shows you that this is actually me. So we should have the faith and we should continue. Then Prabhupada says the creation of the cosmic world is done by his Yoga Maya energy. See, Krishna in this picture is playing flute. He simply enjoys. He doesn't bother about creation. He's got his energies doing everything, and they do it perfectly. This is Krishna. This is God. 23. Bhagavan eka asedam agra atma atmat manam vibhu atme channu gatav atma nana matyu lakshana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the personality of Godhead, the master of all living entities, existed prior to the creation as one without a second. It is by his will only that creation is made possible, and again everything merges in him. This Supreme Self is symptomized by different names. So the Bhagavatam is very, very clear that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, existed prior to creation. Not like there was a Big Bang and that's the beginning of creation. Nothing existed before the Big Bang. It's like many people, they even, because in the Vedas, there is this point of creation, this beginning of creation. But many of the Upanishads, because they focus on impersonal aspects, if you don't read and understand the complete Vedic theology, you'll also come to an impersonal conclusion that, everything started off a Big Bang. So Bhagavatam is very clear. Krishna existed before creation. Prabhupada says in the purport, the great sage here begins to explain the purpose of the 4 original verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Although they have no access to Srimad Bhagavatam, the followers of the Mayavad impersonal school sometimes screw out an imaginary explanation of the 4 original verses. But we must accept the actual explanation given here by Maitreya Muni because he, along with Uddhava, personally heard it directly from the Lord. The first line of the original verses runs, Aham evasam evagre. The word Aham is misinterpreted by the Mayavadi school into meaning which no one but the interpreter can understand. Here, Aham is explained as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not the individual living entities. Before the creation, there was only the personality of Godhead. There were no Purusha incarnations and certainly no living entities. Nor was there the material energy by which the manifested creation is effected. The Purusha incarnations and all different energies of the Supreme Lord were merged in him only. The personality of Godhead is described herein as the master of all other living entities. He is like the sun disk, and the living entities are like the molecules of the sun rays. This existence of the Lord before the creation is confirmed by the Shrutis. Vasudevo va idam agre asit. Na Brahma na Shankara eko vai Narayana asin na Brahma na Shesh na Brahma neshana. Because everything that be is a manifestation of the personality of Godhead. He always existed alone without a second. Vasudevo va idam agra asit. Vasudeva was existing before everything. There was no Brahma, no Shankara, no Shiva, nothing. So this is the proper understanding. He can so exist because he's all perfect and omnipotent. Everything other than him, including his plenary expansions, the Vishnu Tattvas, is his part and parcel. Before the creation, there was no Karanadaksai Vishnu, or Garbhadaksai Vishnu, or Kshairadaksai Vishnu, nor was there Brahma or Shankara. The Vishnu plenary expansions and the living entities begin from Brahma, are separated parts and parcels. Although the spiritual existence was there with the Lord, the material existence was dormant in him. Now remember, we covered the 4 seed verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 2nd canto. And there very clearly, even in the 1st canto, the example of creation is described. And anyone can remember the analogy that is given in the Bhagavatam? And Prabhupada expands on this analogy in relation to creation that is connected to this point of nothing existed before creation, only the Supreme Lord, but everything exists in him. Anyone can remember the analogy or the example. Starts with the S. The sun? No. S, P. So somebody speaking over there. She's mother said a spider. Spider's web. Prabhupada says, and the Bhagavatam says, just as a spider spins its web, creates its web from where? From its saliva. The saliva is inside. You could say the technology, the ingredients, the spider's web is also inside. It's coming out as saliva, and the spider then creates a beautiful web. Then when he wants to destroy the web, he just digests the web. So, like the spider creating the web from itself, Krishna also creates creation from himself. That's why everything exists in him, and he exists before creation. The spider exists before the web. Sometimes they give this theory, right? The chicken and the egg. You don't know which one came first. No, we know. Krishna came first. Everything else is expanding from him. Prabhupada then continues. By his will only is the material manifestation done and undone. The diversity of Vaikuntha Loka is one with the Lord, just as the diversity of the soldiers is one with and the same as the king. As explained Bhagavad Gita 9:7, material creation takes place at intervals by the will of the Lord. And in the periods between dissolution and creation, the living entities and material energy remains dormant in him. So there's cycles of creation and destruction. And during the unmanifested stage, the living entities and the material energy are all within Krishna. 24. Sarva eshata tada drishta napasyat drisham ekarat mene satam ivatmanam supta shaktir asuptadrik. The Lord, the undisputed proprietor of everything, was the only seer. The cosmic manifestation was not present at that time, and thus he felt imperfect without his plenary and separated parts and parcels. The material energy was dormant, whereas the internal potency was manifested. This is the clarity of the Bhagavatam. Here we hearing about the Lord. He's the undisputed proprietor. Everything belongs to him. Not just one thing, everything. He's the only seer. That means he's seeing everything before creation, during creation, after creation. The cosmic manifestation is not present. Krishna is a person. He felt imperfect. He felt something's missing. And something's missing without what? My plenary and separated parts and parcel. Then the material energy is existing, but it's dormant. And the material energy is external, it's dormant, but there's another energy which is internal. That's the spiritual world. It's manifested. So it's not like there is no manifestation. It's not like there is nothing exists. There's not like there's no variety. No, the spiritual world is complete variegatedness. Perfect variegatedness. And that exists all by the internal potency. So we're not talking about the internal potency and the spiritual world. We're talking about the material potency or the material world and external energy. So Prabhupada in the purport gives an amazing purport. The Lord is the supreme seer because only by his glance did the material energy become active for cosmic manifestation. Brahma Samhita says Krishna, Vishnu glances at material energy and becomes activated. At that time, the seer was there, but the external energy over which the glance of the Lord is cast was not present. He felt somewhat insufficient, like a husband feeling lonely in the absence of his wife. This is a poetic simile. The Lord wanted to create the cosmic manifestation to give another chance to the conditioned souls who were dormant in forgetfulness. So Krishna is complete. He's Atmarama. He doesn't need anything. But without the creation, something's missing. What's missing? In the previous sections and chapters, we already covered that the Vedas, this material creation, is for us to go back home. So if the creation is not there, then something's missing. An opportunity for the living entities to come back home is missing. The roadmap to come home is missing. And not only is the roadmap to come home, back to Godhead, is missing, but then the living entities are missing. They're not at home. And if you're at home and your family is not there, you feel lonely. You feel something's missing. So Krishna is missing us. And because Krishna is missing us, he feels the need to create the creation so that we can get an opportunity to come back to him. The cosmic manifestation gives the conditioned souls a chance to go back home, back to Godhead. And that is its main purpose. So we should not be distracted in this creation. Even though life happens, even though there's many things to do, but don't get distracted from this main purpose. This is what we are here for. This is why you exist. You don't exist to become famous. You don't exist, to make billions of dollars. You don't exist to make hundreds of children. You don't exist to grow, learn, study, get married, have children, and die. And in between, whatever else you want to do. People have a whole bucket list, right? Oh yeah, this was in my bucket list. I want to go to America. I want to do this. I want to do this. I need to do this. This hobby, that. They have a whole bucket list. So whatever is your bucket list, that's not the purpose of life. The purpose of life is to go back home, back to God. That is its main purpose. Otherwise, your bucket is useless. You're going to get another bucket next life, and another bucket next life, and in this way, it keep repeating. Your life keep repeat. Your life is on repeat. So, unless and until this purpose is not fulfilled, we have not perfected our human form of life and what this life is meant for. So we do not want to be distracted from this focus, because we can get so absorbed and then lose the focus of what we are here for. The Lord is so kind that in the absence of such a manifestation, he feels something wanting, and thus the creation takes place. This is the desire, there's something that Krishna wants, and that means Krishna is seeking our association. Krishna wants us to come back home. Although the creation of the internal potency was manifested, the other potency appeared to be sleeping, and the Lord wanted to awaken her to activity. Just as a husband wants to awaken his wife from a sleeping state for enjoyment, it is the compassion of the Lord for the sleeping energy that he wants to see her awakened for enjoyment. Like the other wives who are awake, the whole process is to enliven the sleeping conditioned souls to the real life of spiritual consciousness, so that they may thus become as perfect as the ever liberated souls in Vaikuntha Lokas. The whole process is to enliven the sleeping conditioned souls to the real life of spiritual consciousness, so that they may thus become as perfect as the ever liberated souls in Vaikuntha Lokas. So firstly, it's a process. And that process is meant to enliven us, to give us real life from our attachment to sleeping conditioned nature. We are sleeping on the witch Maya, on the lap of Maya. And we thinking the sleeping state is real. This is like the Matrix, red pill and green. They talk what? Red pill and blue pill, right? Whatever. I never saw that movie and everybody talks about it. Well, here's the Matrix. The two sides, the reality and everything else that's not real. No matter what is going on in this material world, it's the wrong side of life. The real side of life is on the other side. Prabhupada says real life or spiritual consciousness. Not mundane consciousness, not material consciousness, not any other form of consciousness. So this material world is really giving us a perfect opportunity to become perfect. And without that perfection, you cannot go back home. It's not like, oh yeah, I know about Krishna, or other Prabhupada's books, or I read Chant and Be Happy. I'm chanting one round. Now I'm waiting for the Vaikunta Airlines. Good luck. It's not going to come. Sorry to say, it ain't coming. There is a qualification required. And the qualification is perfection. Nothing short of perfection. You need to go from 100% material consciousness to 100% spiritual consciousness. And yes, if you don't make it, Krishna will give you another opportunity in the material creation. But don't expect to go back to Godhead without 100% Krishna consciousness. If by Prabhupada's mercy that percentage is reduced, great. But don't expect any other miracles. We need to aim for 200%. And if we strive seriously, sincerely for 200%, with all our efforts, with no wishy-washy, no diplomacy, no hypocrisy, because Krishna knows that you're trying for 200%, and Krishna knows that your effort is 200. If your effort is 200 and you only make 50, by Prabhupada and Krishna's mercy, they will see you tried for 200, you only got 50, we give you the balance of the 50. But you make like you're trying for 200 and you're only putting in 50. Sorry, they know. Then you can't come and say, no, but Krishna, I tried for 200, I was trying 200. Yes, we know the true colors, we know the true percentage you were actually putting in. We know all the excuses you were giving for service. We know all the inattention that was going on in your service. We know where your interest really lied. We know where your attachment and attraction was really focused on. So you can't cheat the process. You can't cheat Krishna. Therefore, becoming convinced and then trying our best to give everything we have to the process, to the Supreme Lord, and sincerely try to do that. We do our best, we leave the rest in Krishna's hands. Since the Lord is Sachidananda Vigraha, he likes every part and parcel of his different potencies to take part in the blissful rasa, because participation with the Lord in his eternal rasa lila is the highest living condition, perfect in spiritual bliss and eternal knowledge. This is our goal, this is our aspiration, this is our destination. And Krishna wants it. So if Krishna wants it, why wouldn't Krishna make all the arrangements if you want it? The problem is, you don't want it. That's why when one disciple said, Prabhupada, Krishna consciousness is so difficult. Maya is so strong. Prabhupada said, no, Maya is not strong. Krishna consciousness is not difficult. Your desire is weak. You don't want it enough. That's the problem. So get your desire intact. When you want it enough, you will do everything in your power to get it. You'll see. I clearly remember, I normally give this example because when I wasn't a devotee, Krishna conscious, had no connection with Krishna conscious, we were at home, and it was a practice at home that in December you go to Sansati. Now, if you're underage, no Sansati. You have to be a certain age. But the family members would go to Sansati, right? So they would go to Sansati and enjoy. That's where the casinos are and everything, and you go and enjoy. Now, the following year, or let's say now this year, I turned the age to go to Sansari. What was interesting was the day before we were going, I was awake all night in excitement. Whereas ordinarily, to stay up all night is a big yakya, austerity, difficult. But because of the excitement and the expectation of sense enjoyment and gratification, you become excited and therefore even sleep runs away. So it's not a question that the facility changed, the environment changed. No, it's the expectation. And that expectation, that want, I want that, automatically the variables change. So the more we want Krishna consciousness, the more we want to serve, the more we want to become perfect, the more we want to read Prabhupada's books, the more we want to chant, the more we want to love Krishna. When those desires intensify, increase, become solid, then the process becomes very easy. 25. Sarva etasya samdrishtu shakti sad asad atmika maya nama mahabhaga yayedam nirmame vibhu. The Lord is the seer, and the external energy which is seen works both as the cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation. Oh, greatly fortunate Vidura! This external energy is known as Maya or illusion, and through her agency only is the entire material manifestation made possible. Purport: the material energy known as Maya is both the material and efficient cause of the cosmos. But in the background, the Lord is the consciousness for all activities. Material and efficient cause, that means sometimes you see it seems like matter is creating. And sometimes it seems like there is an external cause causing creation. So both material and efficient cause in terms of the way it's created, things are created, and also in terms of the energies. Material ingredients are unmanifested, then become manifested. And those same ingredients that are manifested can create, manifest. As in the individual body, the consciousness is the source of all energies of the body. So the supreme consciousness of the Lord is the source of all energies in the material nature. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10 as follows: Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sa Chachar Charam Hetu Na Nena Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate. Throughout all the energies of the material nature, there is the hand of the Supreme Lord as the final superintendent. Due to this supreme cause only, the activities of material nature appear planned and systematic, and all things regularly evolve. 26. Kala vritta tu mayayam gunamayam adokshajam Purushenatma bhutena viryam adata viryavan. The supreme living being is his feature, in his feature as the transcendental Purusha incarnation, who is the Lord's plenary expansion, impregnates the material nature of three modes, and thus by the influence of the external time, the living entities appear. The offspring of any living being is born after the father impregnates the mother with semen. And the living entity floating in the semen of the father takes the shape of the mother's form. Similarly, material nature cannot produce any living entities from her material elements unless and until she is impregnated with the living entities by the Lord himself. That is the mystery of the generation of the living entities. This impregnating process is formed by the first Purusha incarnation, Karan Daksai Vishnu. Simply by his glance over material nature, the whole matter is accomplished. We should not understand the process of impregnation by the personality of Godhead in terms of our material conception of sex. The omnipotent Lord can impregnate just by his eyes, and therefore he is called all-potent. Each and every part of his body, each and every part of his transcendental body can perform each and every function of other parts. This is confirmed in Brahma Samhita 532. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. In Bhagavad Gita 14.3 also, the same principle is confirmed. Mama yonir mahat brahma tasmin garbha tadamya aham. When the cosmic manifestation, when the cosmic creation is manifested, the living entities are directly supplied from the Lord. They are never products of material nature. Thus, no scientific advancement of material science can ever produce a living being. That is the whole mystery of material. Now, if the scientists read this, they would know that they're wasting their time in creating life. Why? Because life is not created from matter. Life comes from life. Life originates from the supreme spiritual source. So no matter how advanced technology, AI, engineering, science, biology, no matter how advanced, no matter how much time is given, no scientist, no matter how advanced they are, can actually make life. That's why Prabhupada would boldly claim when he's meeting with a scientist, can you create life in the laboratory? I give you all the ingredients. Can you create life? No, you can't. You can clone life. You can take a stem cell and replicate it. That's not creating life. We give you the raw ingredients, you create life. And life means consciousness. Life means thinking, feeling, and willing. This is life. A conscious being, a conscious entity. You can't even make one mosquito. You can't even make a unicellular animal, entity. Yes, you can have some environment, and all of a sudden you see some entities developing there, and you say, see, we create life. No, you didn't create life. Life was there already there. Just like Prabhupada gives the example, and we already covered this example, a scorpion coming out of a bag of rice. When a scorpion comes out of a bag of rice, you say, see, rice gave birth to a scorpion. Wow, amazing. No, rice did not give birth to a scorpion. A male scorpion and a female scorpion, they laid eggs, and that gave rise to the scorpion in a bag of rice. So at this point, we should be very clear about that. No material elements, the material energy does not create life. But the Supreme Lord, who has all the living entities in him as Karandaksai Vishnu, through his glance, he impregnates all those living entities in the material energy. This is where we get Durga, Parvati, the material energy, who doesn't have the living entities, and you get Mahavishnu, who glances, and that glance impregnates the material energy. That glance manifests in the form of Shambhu. And therefore, that aspect of universal creation or impregnation is manifested in the form of, symbolized in the form of Shiva Lingam. So the Shiva Lingam is the first manifestation or the symbol of creation, beginning with the Supreme impregnating the material creation. And from that, all living entities then manifest, including creation. The living entities are foreign to matter, and thus they cannot be happy unless they are situated in the same spiritual life as the Lord. Now it's amazing. See how Prabhupada links. It's beautiful. The subject matter is creation. It's purely creation. And here we're hearing how the Lord impregnates the living entities into material energy. He's the source. Prabhupada's giving an example of how Father impregnates the semen into the mother. And this is how life comes. And then Prabhupada talks about how the Father is the seed giving, the Father is giving the seed of the living entity. So therefore, the Father is the source. The Supreme Lord is the source, not the material energy. This is how creation works. Then Prabhupada links this because we've established that you, the living entity, come from a spiritual source, because God is spiritual, Krishna is spiritual. Matter hasn't existed yet. Matter is unmanifested. The supreme spiritual being, Krishna, in the form of Karandaksai Vishnu, needs to trigger the material ingredients. So matter doesn't exist. Ingredients are there, unmanifested. The souls are in the spiritual environment. They get impregnated into the material energy. And because they get impregnated into material energy, they will never be happy because they are in a foreign environment. That is why matter will never satisfy the living entity, no matter what type of material facilities are provided. No matter how glamorous, no matter how much AI and artificial intelligence, virtual reality, metaverse, no matter how sophisticated, no matter which planet you go to, Mars, Moon, Venus, whether it's Las Vegas, whether it's the mountains, whether it's the rivers, lakes, doesn't matter where you in the creation, no matter what time, no matter what age of the universe cycles, it doesn't matter. You will never be happy because it's a foreign environment. The mistaken living being, out of forgetfulness of his original condition of life, unnecessarily wastes time trying to become happy in the material world. The whole Vedic process is to remind one of this essential feature of life. The Lord offers the conditioned soul a material body for his so-called enjoyment, but if one does not come to his senses and enter into spiritual consciousness, the Lord again puts him in an unmanifested condition as it existed in the beginning of the creation. The Lord is described here as Viryavan, or the greatest potent being, because he impregnates material nature with innumerable living entities who are conditioned from time immemorial. 27. Tato bhavan mahatattvam avyakt tat kalakoditat vignanat matma deha stitam vishwan vyanjamstatamonuda. Thereafter, influenced by the interaction of eternal time, the supreme sum total of matter, called the Mahatattva, became manifested. And in this Mahatattva, the unalloyed goodness, the Supreme Lord, sowed the seeds of universal manifestation out of his own body. So now systematically, we are hearing about creation. In due course of time, the impregnated material energy was manifested first as the total material ingredients. Everything takes its own time to fructify. And therefore, the word kala koditat, influenced by time, is used herein. So this energy of kala shakti is already coming from the Supreme Lord. And when the Lord glances the material energy to the material energy, in that glance is the living entity. In the glance is the kala shakti, time factor. In the glance is the Icha Shakti, the desire of the Lord. It's all in that energy. The Mahatattva is total consciousness because a portion of it is represented in everyone as the intellect. The Mahatattva is directly connected with the supreme consciousness of the Supreme Being, but still it appears as matter. The Mahatattva, or shadow of pure consciousness, is the germinating place of all creation. It is pure goodness within the slight addition. It is pure goodness with the slight addition of material mode of passion, and therefore activity is generated from this point. Now, we may not get all the details and understand the full details of this amazing mechanism and process of Krishna's creation. We don't expect you to know it in and out. But as we're reading through this, understand it's unfolding systematically. There's details, there's processes, there's things that are generated. There are different stages of generation. There's an influence of time. There are different modes. There are different aspects of creation. It's not a Big Bang and everything was there. No. It is scientific. It is systematic. It is detailed. This is creation. 28. Swapya amsa guna kalatma bhagava drishta do gochara atmanam vyakkarod atma vishvas yasya shishkrikshaya. Thereafter, the Mahatattva differentiated itself into many different forms of the reservoir of the would-be entities. The Mahatattva is chiefly in the mode of ignorance, and it generates the false ego. It is a plenary expansion of the personality of Godhead with full consciousness of creative principle and time for fructification. The Mahatattva is the medium between pure spirit and material existence. It is the junction of matter and spirit wherefrom the false ego of the living entity is generated. So the Mahatattva is like the unmanifested ingredients, or you could say Pradhan is the unmanifested ingredients, raw ingredients. When the Supreme Lord glances, then that Pradhan now becomes Mahatattva, activated spirit, activated energy. So the closest to the spirit soul is that activated Mahatattva. And the first element that manifests from the Mahatattva is false ego. All living entities are differentiated parts and parcel of the personality of Godhead. Under the pressure of the false ego, the conditioned souls, although parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, claim to be the enjoyer of material nature. This false ego is the binding force of material existence. This is the glue. This is the root cause. This is what causes everything. And without dissolving the false ego or completely purifying the false ego, there is no liberation. There is no perfection. The Lord again and again gives a chance to the bewildered conditioned souls to get free from this false ego. And that is why the material creation takes place at intervals. So we heard on a high level, Prabhupada says the material creation is there. Krishna is giving us the opportunity to come back home. Now, if you drill deeper, what is the glue? What is the main function? What should we be doing in relation to the material creation for us to use it to go back home? It's centered around the false ego. What does a false ego do? Prabhupada writes, the conditioned soul, although part and parcel of the Supreme Person of God, claims to be the enjoyers of material nature. This is under the pressure of the false ego. So the false ego allows you to think you the master, you the proprietor, you the enjoyer. Big or small, mosquito or Indra, doesn't matter. And until this is not fixed, then you keep getting the material creation again and again and again until you get purified completely. He gives the conditioned souls all facilities for rectifying the activities of the false ego, but he does not interfere with their small independence as part and parcel of the law. So you're given the opportunity again and again. We need to become free from the false ego. It's not an overnight business. No problem. The Lord will give you as much time as you require, but the Lord will never interfere and purify it for you. Because then there's no love. Then it's forced. It's not what you wanted. Then in the spiritual world, when Krishna says, can you do some service for me? Every day I need to do some service. I mean, I don't know why you brought me here. You're going to complain. So therefore, Krishna doesn't want that complaint. And because he doesn't want that complaint, he will leave you in the material world as long as you want to stay here. Therefore, Prabhupada in many purports would say to go back home is very simple. It's desire. If you desire, things will happen. If you don't desire, it won't happen. So again, it's coming to what you want. And by reading Prabhupada's books, by associating with devotees, by hearing Krishna Katha, it's reinforcing that desire. Because it's not hodgepodge. It's not just go back home. No. There is understanding why you want to go back home, why you should be at home. So Prabhupada's giving the understanding, the proper understanding, so that we can understand. There's comparison, there's contrast, there's there's benefits. There is the reality of why and why not, what will happen. So when we're getting all this, we now begin to increase our desire to now do something about our situation. And in this way, slowly start to practice spiritual life. (29) Before we go there, just in regards to this point that Krishna does not interfere with the minute independence. Because Krishna is completely independent, we are part and parcel, we have minute independence. Krishna will not strive for that minute independence, but we can give that minute independence to Krishna. We can say, my Lord, please take my independence and do as you wish with me. So I'm giving myself. See, Krishna is not taking it, but he's not stifling it, he's not interfering with it. I am voluntarily giving myself to Krishna to become his instrument. That is what Krishna wants and loves. 29. Mahatatvat vikurvanad aham tatvam Vya Jaya Yatam Karyakarana Kratma Bhutendriya Manomana Vaika Rikas Tejasas Cha Tamasas Cha Tamas Chetyaham Trida Mahatattva, or the great causal truth, transforms into false ego, which is manifest in three phases: cause, effect, and the doer. All such activities are on the mental plane and are based on material elements, gross senses, and mental speculation. The false ego is represented in three different modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Purport. A living entity in his original spiritual existence is fully conscious of his constitutional position as an eternal servant of the Lord. All souls who are situated in such pure consciousness are liberated, and therefore they eternally live in bliss and knowledge in the various Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. When material creation is manifested, it is not meant for them. The eternally liberated souls are called Nitya Muktas, and they have nothing to do with the material creation. The material creation is meant for the rebellious souls who are not prepared to accept subordination under the Supreme Lord. The spirit of false lordship is called false ego. It is manifested in three modes of material nature, and it exists in mental speculation only. It exists in mental speculation only, meaning it is all in your mind. Whatever the mind thinks of, it manifests. As soon as the mind thinks of Krishna, the reality manifests. Those who are in a mode of goodness think that each and every person is God. And thus they laugh at the pure devotees who try to engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So when false ego is created, false ego is first created mode of ignorance, mode of goodness, then mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. False ego in a mode of goodness allow you to think that each and every person is God. The person is in the mode of goodness, yet he has this wrong understanding, which binds him to the material world. Because he's in a mode of goodness, his lifestyle may be in a mode, his lifestyle is in a mode of goodness. They're very austere. They apparently, no philosophy. They're following the 4 principles. They celibate, renounce. They may have all these mode of goodness characteristics, but because they have ego, false ego associated in mode of goodness, then their thinking is everyone is God. Each and every person is God. So they are still bound. Those who are puffed up by the mode of passion try to lord it over material nature in various ways. Some of them engage in altruistic activities as if they were agents appointed to do good to others by their mental speculative plans. Such men accept the standard ways of mundane altruism, but their plans are made on the basis of false ego. This false ego extends to the limit of becoming one with the Lord. So false ego in the mode of passion allows you to become an enjoyer of fame, of adoration, of people saying, oh, you're so good, you do good to humanity. So you have so many clinics, so many hospitals, you're doing so much nice work. How wonderful. The last class of egoistic conditioned souls, those in the mode of ignorance, are misguided by identification with the gross body, with the self. And those who have false ego in the mode of ignorance, their identification is with this body. They think this is me. So those who are ignorant or false ego in the mode of ignorance, false ego in the mode of passion, and false ego in the mode of goodness. False ego in a mode of ignorance, you identify with the self, and the self becomes be all and end all of everything. Your existence, your activities, your desire, everything, your thoughts is basically based on this body, me and my. Then false ego in the mode of passion, you become more free from the false identity of this body, right? You may know that, I'm spirit, etc. And you may also be involved in so many altruistic welfare work, welfare activities, but all for the purpose of subtle enjoyment, adoration, fame, distinction, glory. That's where everybody knows I'm a great person. I do so much for humanity. This is also enjoyment, subtle, gross enjoyment, then subtle enjoyment. Then somebody even becomes more advanced. They know they're not this body. They know they're spirit souls. Aham Brahmasmi. They even become free from gross enjoyment, subtle enjoyment. Now they're practicing spiritual life. They look like realized souls. But false ego in the mode of goodness, you God and I'm God, we're all God. Everyone's God. They may even say, well, I'm not God. But they'll say, you God. Everyone's God. So this is how the trap of false ego in any mode is dangerous. And the process of bhakti yoga, the process of Krishna consciousness, is to become free from all these upadhis, from these designations. And the only upadhi, the only designation you need to embody and realize is Jive Swarapohai Krishna Nitya Das. I am a servant of Krishna. I am the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. That is true ego. Thus, all the activities are centered around the body only. Body only. All these persons are given the chance to play with false egoistic ideas. But at the same time, the Lord is kind enough to give them a chance to take help from scriptures like the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, so that they may understand the science of Krishna and thus make their lives successful. So see, Prabhupada is preaching here to us. This is exactly what we should preach to others. Why they have different mentalities and mindsets. Why every single one of them is detrimental. Why they'll never be happy. What is the solution? To read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is giving the science of Krishna consciousness so that you can make your life successful. It's about you. It's about your life. It's about your happiness. It's about your success. Not anyone else's. It's you. The benefit is coming to you. So you need to decide what you want to do. The entire material creation, therefore, is meant for falsely egoistic living entities, hovering on the mental plane, under different illusions in the model material nature. Therefore, whether it's the red pill or blue pill, it's an illusion pill. Whether you're in A-class prison, B-class prison, or C-class prison, welcome to the prison. The goal is not to go from C to A. The goal is to get out. So Prabhupada is making very clear this is all part of the conditioned nature of the living entity. That's why you'll see Prabhupada was never impressed with people who are illusioned. Like yogis, I give that example. Prabhupada, I heard about one yogi. They had a picture that when people would give him money, his hands would go behind. And people thought, wow, so detached. Prabhupada wasn't impressed. Prabhupada said, get a camera, take picture. First, I'll make like this. I want the money. Yeah. I want like this. I want lots of money. And then I'll make like this to show them that money goes to Krishna. So Prabhupada was not fooled by false renunciation. One time they asked Srila Prabhupada, why do we open up so many schools and hospitals and clinics? Prabhupada said, that's not our business. Our business is to take people back to Godhead. That's our business. Don't mix your profession. Focus on your business. Let others do that. Let us focus on giving people Krishna consciousness in the form of the holy name, in the form of prasad, in the form of Prabhupada's books, so that people can become benefited to go back home. And we ourselves, when we understand this, when we should be convinced about this, then we should be fully embracing the process. Lock, stock, and barrel, everything, and not waste time. Not dabble with this process. Little this, little that. No, we want to be fully convinced and embrace it fully so that we can, for once and for all, solve our problem. One devotee, he said, Srila Prabhupada, when we doing Guru Puja, we sing. That birth after birth, I will serve. So if I come back, will you come back to deliver me? Because that we have that relationship, birth after birth. And Prabhupada, he banged his hand on the table, banged his fist on the table. And Prabhupada said, don't let me come back. Don't make me come back. So we need to try to perfect our life in this life. And Prabhupada wants us to perfect it in one life. He's giving us the process to perfect in one life. He's giving us the blessings and the mercy to perfect in one life. The question is, do you want it in one life? Are you serious enough to want it in one life? Are you convinced enough that this is the objective, this is the goal of our Krishna consciousness? Because if it is, then everything is in place, everything is there. Tati. Aham tatvad vikurvanam mano vaika rikad adbut vaika rikas chaye deva artha bivyan janam yata. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. And all the demigods who control the phenomenal world also appear, products of the same principle, namely the interaction of the false ego and the mode of goodness. But false ego interaction with the different modes of material nature is the source of all materials in the phenomenal world. Okay, so everything then manifests. And we already covered this also previously, the second canto, very detailed how creation is manifested just from this interaction. And then systematically, things unmanifest. things are created or things manifest, one thing at a time, different senses, sense objects, the demigods, everything is manifested. 31. Tejasanyandriya indriyanyeva jnana karma mayanicha. The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion in false ego. So the demigods are created, false ego interacting with the goodness, the mind, then demigods, then senses interacting, senses originated coming from the mode of passion, and therefore for philosophical speculated knowledge and fruitive activities are predominantly products of the mode of passion. The chief function of the false ego is godlessness. When a person forgets his constitutional position as an eternally subordinate part and parcel of the Supreme Person of Godhead and wants to be happy independently, he functions mainly in two ways. He first attempts to act fruitively for personal gain or sense gratification, and after attempting such fruitive activities for a considerable time, when he's frustrated, he becomes a philosophical speculator and thinks himself to be on the same level of God. So the karmis and the jnanis, fruitive workers and philosophical speculators, mayavadis, impersonalists. This false idea of becoming one with the Lord is the last snare of the illusory energy, which traps the living entity into the bondage of forgetfulness under the spell of false ego. The best means of liberation from the clutches of false ego is to give up the habit of philosophical speculation regarding the absolute truth. One should know definitely that the absolute truth is never realized by philosophical speculation of the imperfect egoistic person. The absolute truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized by hearing about him in all submission and love from a bona fide authority who is a representative of the 12 great authorities mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. By such an attempt only can one conquer the illusory energy of the Lord, although for others she is unsurpassable, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. So Krishna makes it very clear. Maya metam tarantite. You can only cross when you surrender. Otherwise, she is insurmountable. 32. Tamaso bhutas shukshmadir yatakam lingam atmana. The sky is a product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egoistic ignorance. In other words, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Etasmad Atmana Akasha Sambhuta. The sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Those who are egoistic in passion and ignorance cannot conceive of the personality of God. For them, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. So here we see a classic example of the Bhagavatam verse, talking about the sky as the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Then Prabhupada quoting the Vedic hymns, which people get exposed to. Sky is symbolic of the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. So when they start putting all this together, what they claim, the sky is God. This is how they get deviated. See? Now, when you say the sky is God, that's nice. Because why? We know the sky is impersonal. The sky is not conscious. And if the sky is God, then that means God is impersonal. Sky is everywhere, God is everywhere. But there's no consciousness. So this is how they deviate from the truth. 33. Kalamayam sayogena bhagavat vikshitam naba Navaso Nshtritam Sparsham Vikurvan Nirmame Nilam. Thereafter, the person of God had glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus developed the touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced. All material creation takes place from subtle to gross. The entire universe has developed in that manner. From sky develops the touch sensation, which is a mixture of eternal time, the external energy, and the glance of the personality of Godhead. The touch sensation develops into the air in the sky. Similarly, all other gross matter also develops from subtle to gross. Sound develops into sky. Touch develops into air. Form develops into fire. Taste developed into water. Smell developed into earth. 34. Anilo vikurvano naba sorubalanvita sarjarupa tanmantram jyotir loksyalochanam. Thereafter, the extremely powerful air interacting with the sky generated the form of sense perception, and the perception of form transformed into electricity, the light to see the world. Anile nan vitam jyotir vikurvat paravikshitam adatam borasamayam kalamayam sayogata. When electricity was surcharged in the air and was glanced over by the Supreme at that time by a mixture of eternal time, the external energy thus occurred the creation of water and taste. So systematically creation is coming on. Now, what's interesting is that came to my mind. Thereafter, the extremely powerful air interacting with sky generated form of sense perception, and the perception of form transformed into electricity, the light in the world. So air and electricity is connected. And that's why Nikola Tesla, he was able to generate electricity from sky, from air, because electricity exists in that sphere, in that aspect. 36. Let's just go over this one again. When electricity was surcharged in the air and was glanced over by the Supreme at that time by a mixture of eternal time and external energy, there occurred the creation of water and taste. 36. Jyotishambho nusam shrishtam vikurvad brahma vikshitam mahin ganda guna adat kala mayam sayogatam. Thereafter, the water produced from electricity was glanced over by the Supreme Personal Godhead and the mixture of eternal time and external energy. Thus, it was transformed into earth, which is qualified primarily by smell. From the descriptions of physical elements in the above verses, it is clear that in all stages, the glance of the Supreme is needed, with the other additions and alterations. In every transformation, the last finishing touch is the glance of the Lord, who acts as the painter, as a painter does when he mixes different colors to transform them into a particular color. When one element mixes with the other, the number of its qualities increases. For example, the sky is the cause of air, and the sky is the cause of air. The air has only one quality, namely sound. But by the interaction of sky with the glance of the Lord, mixed with the time, eternal time, and external nature, and eternal nature, air is produced, which has two qualities, sound and touch. Similarly, after the air is created, the interaction of sky and air touched by time, external energy of the Lord, produces electricity. Next, the interaction of electricity with air and sky, mixed. And here electricity also means fire, right? Any form of light, heat, categorizes electricity or fire. Similarly, the air is created. Interaction with sky and air touched by time, external energy of the Lord produces electricity. Next, the interaction of electricity with air and sky mixed with time, the external energy of the Lord, external energy and the Lord's glance over them produces water. In the final stage of sky, there is one quality, namely sound. In the air, two qualities, sound and touch. In electricity, fire, three qualities, namely sound, touch, and form. In water, four qualities, sound, touch, form, and taste. And in the last stage of physical development, the result is earth, which have all five qualities, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. Although they are different mixtures of different materials, such mixtures do not take place automatically, just as a mixture of colors does not take place automatically without the touch of a living painter. Earth has these qualities. That means I can hear earth, I hit earth, like something that's solid, like a cell phone, right? Or let's take a kachori. No, let's take a cell phone. Anything that's made of earth, everything that we see now is made of earth. It has form. We can see it. I can touch it. I can hit and make sound comes out. I can taste it. Some things have taste, some things don't have taste. But taste is I can taste it. Like I can eat a kachori, taste. And they smell. Some have scent, some don't have scent, but I can smell. The higher you go up, the finer or subtle it becomes, right? So for example, water, which is above earth, I can hear water, the flow of a river. I can touch water. I can see water. I can taste water, but I can't smell water. That's why scent comes out from the earth, goes into plants, and we can smell. So as it becomes more subtle, less of the qualities are there, and therefore less interaction with those elements. The automatic system is factually activated by the glancing or touch of the Lord. Living consciousness is the final word in physical changes. This fact is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 9:10 as follows. Maya dakshena prakriti suyatas sa charam hetuna nena kontaya jagat vipari vartate. Conclusion is that the physical elements may work very wonderfully to the layman's eyes, but their workings actually take place under the supervision of the Lord. Those who can mark only the changes of the physical elements and cannot perceive the hidden hands of the Lord behind them are certainly less intelligent persons, although they may be advertised as great material scientists. So you have a nice big title, but less intelligent because you're not seeing the hand of the Lord. 37. Bhutanam nava adinam yad pavyavarana varavaram te samparasu samsargad yata sankyam guna vibhu. O gentle one, of all physical elements, beginning from the sky down to the earth, all the inferior and superior qualities are due only to the final touch of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is our devotee sees. When we see matter, when we see all the aspects of creation, we become excited. Why? Because we know that every single aspect of creation was touched by Krishna. Therefore, nothing is separated from Krishna. Nothing happens without Krishna's interaction. 38. Etadeva kala Vishnu kala maya sa lingina nantatvat swakiryanisha prochu pranjalayo vibhum. The controlling deities of all the above mentioned physical elements are empowered expansions of Lord Vishnu. They are embodied by eternal time under the external energy, and they are his parts and parcels because they were entrusted with different functions of universal duties and were unable to perform them. They offered fascinating prayers to the Lord as follows. So after, as part of, in the mode of goodness, with the mind, demigods were created. Those demigods were then given the facility to manage all the elements. And without the blessing, without the intelligence, without the direction of the Lord, they don't know what to do. So now they're going to be offering prayers. The conception of various controlling demigods who inhabit the higher planetary systems for management of the universal affairs is not imaginary, as proposed by persons with a poor fund of knowledge. The demigods are expanded parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and they are embodied by time, external energy, and partial consciousness of the Supreme. Human beings, animals, birds, etc., are also part and parcel of the Lord and have different material bodies, but they are not the controlling deities of material affairs. They are rather controlled by such demigods. Such control is not superfluous. It is necessary as the controlling departments in the affairs of a modern state. The demigods should not be despised by the controlling living beings. They are all great devotees of the Lord, entrusted to execute certain functions of the universal affairs. One may be angry with Yamaraj for his thankless task of punishing sinful souls, but Yamaraj is one of the authorized devotees of the Lord, and so are all the other demigods. The devotee of the Lord is never controlled by such deputed demigods who function as assistants of the Lord, but he shows them all respect on account of the responsible position to which they have been appointed by the Lord. At the same time, a devotee of the Lord does not foolishly mistaken them to be the Supreme Lord. Only foolish persons accept the demigods as being on the same level as Vishnu. Actually, they are all appointed as servants of Vishnu. Very clear, no ambiguity, no confusion. The demigods are not God. It's not like all one. You can worship anyone. No, it's not the case. Yes, and we, as pure devotees, they understand, they respect that this is the position they're given by the Lord himself. So they respect them. They don't worship them, and they don't confuse them to be the Supreme Lord. At the same time, they don't despise them. Yamaraj has a thankless task. Sometimes the demigods have to create disasters. Natural disasters are not caused on their own. They are supervised by the demigods. Why? Because of the sinful reactions of people on the planet. So here we can see creation is very systematic, but never without the full involvement, supervision, and consciousness of the Supreme Lord, the glance of the Supreme Lord. Then as elements are systematically being created, then there's supervision. There's entities that are managing. There's a universal affair, like a modern state with departments to manage, to control. That's why there's order. That's why the sun rises and sets timelessly. There's no, it's not like haphazard, random. There's a law. There's systems, all engineered, designed, created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who places the Lord and demigods on the same level is called a Pashandi or atheist. The demigods are worshipped by persons who are more or less adherents of the process of Gyan, Yoga, and Karma. That is, the impersonalists, the meditators, and fruit of workers. The devotees, however, worship only the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This worship is not for any material benefit, as desired by all the materialists, even up to the salvationists, mystics, and the fruit of workers. Devotees worship the Supreme Lord to attain unalloyed devotion to the Lord. The Lord, however, is not worshipped by others who have no program for attaining love of God, which is the essential aim of human life. So again, you're impersonalist, you're a meditator, you're a fruit of worker. You're Jnani, you're yogi, you're karmi. Your aim is to become a lover of God. And you can't become a lover of God by worshiping the demigods, because the demigods cannot give you love. Yes, if you worship the demigods as servants for their blessings, for you to get pure devotion, that's different. But most people worship demigods for material benefits. And by getting material benefits, you don't get love. Persons averse to a loving relation with God are more or less condemned by their own actions. The Lord is equal to every living entity, just like the flowing Ganges. The Ganges water is meant for the purification of everyone. Yet the trees on the banks of the Ganges have different values. A mango tree on the bank of the Ganges drink the water, and the neem tree also drinks the same water. But the fruits of both trees are different. One is celestially sweet, and the other is hellishly bitter. Wonderful. The condemned bitterness of the neem is due to its own past work, just as the sweetness of the mango is also due to its own past karma. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 16:19, Tanaham dvishta kruran shareshu naradaman shipyam shrajam shubham Ashurishwa Yonishu, the envious, the mischievous, the lowest of mankind, they do I ever put back into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of lives. Demigods like Yamaraj and other controllers are there for unwanted conditioned souls who always engage in threatening the tranquility of the kingdom of God. Since all the demigods are confidential devotee servitors of the Lord, they are never to be condemned. Antara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. So, everyone gets what they want. Everybody gets according to the karma. But yet everybody gets Krishna's mercy. So, it's not that Krishna wants everyone to suffer. Everybody is using the facility that's provided by Krishna ultimately for their best interest, but they're abusing the facility for their sense enjoyment. That, unfortunately, Krishna cannot control. But the consequences are yours. Everybody has to suffer their consequences. Right, let us cover any questions, any comments anyone has. Bafana had a comment previously. Let me read that. I don't know much about Bhagavan, but this much I know, or am somewhat realizing the causeless mercy of Krishna through chanting, no matter how bad is the chanting. Realization of the causeless mercy and seeing Krishna everywhere and in everything is a mercy kind of instantaneous moment you chant. I wish my enthusiasm increases a lot, is yet to be discovered from the association of Bhagavatam. Yes. Step by step, we will realize all these aspects. It's about realization, it's about purification, it's about association. And the realization happens in different stages for different individuals according to our intensity, according to Krishna's desire. Prabhupada shares the beginning, the middle, and the end, full spectrum. And we simply have to continue. And yes, if you keep yourself connected, keep yourself engaged, it will manifest more and more. Ivan says, in the previous text, we referred directly to Lord Krishna. However, in text 38, you refer to Lord Vishnu. Yes. So there is no difference between Krishna and Vishnu from a tattva perspective. Tattva means truth. There is no difference. Krishna is Vishnu, Vishnu is Krishna. That's why all expansions, all Godhead fall in the category of Vishnu Tattva, the truth of Godhead, the science of Godhead, the science of the Supreme, Vishnu Tattva. Then there's Jiva Tattva, the truth of the living entities, where we belong. All incarnations, all expansions of the Lord fall in the category of Vishnu Tattva, including Krishna. All living entities, right from Brahma, all living entities fall in Jiva Tattva. Shiva falls in his own Tattva, own truth called Shiva Tattva. And then you have Shakti Tattva. Krishna's energies like Radhavani, material energies, the internal potency, they fall in the Shakti Tattva. So there's no difference between Krishna and Vishnu from a Tattva perspective. From a ras or relation perspective, there is difference. You can't have certain relationships with Vishnu that you can have with Krishna. So that's the difference. They're both non-dual, non-different. They're the same energy. That's why Krishna can interchangeably use Vishnu and himself in verses, in Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavatam, because why? It's him. Now, Godhead at home is more intimate. Therefore, Krishna. Godhead at work is more formal. Therefore, Vishnu. Vishnu is not at home. Vishnu is always at work in relation to creation. But that Vishnu who is at work in relation to creation, where did he come from? From home. And at home, he's Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna says, I'm creating, he's right. But he's playing flute. So he's not creating. He expands himself and he lets his expansion do the creation, but it's him. So therefore, interchangeable, no problem at all. Hope that explains. Krishna can, just like the mother, she has a son at home and the son is 50 years old. And the son is a lawyer. So when the son goes to the court, he's a lawyer. They address him, Your Highness, Your Majesty, they address him accordingly. But when he comes at home, she doesn't say, Your Highness, Your Majesty. No, my son, nice seeing you again. How are you? You're hungry? See what I cooked for you, my son. She says, my son. It's the same lawyer, but in more intimate. So Krishna is the original, most intimate, original source. From him he expands to do all the functions and aspects of creation. And therefore, many people get confused, right? Because when you read the Vedas and you read the Bhagavatam, like so many godheads, like, gee, man, this is like more complex than I thought. So Big Bang is simple. Big Bang. Yeah, but it's incomplete. It's impersonal. Just consider. I even take this. Imagine you want to create a product. Here's a water bottle. Just consider you want to create this water bottle. You think one person is enough? No. The person who needs to think about it. There's designers, there's manufacturers, there is builders, there is people that's going to sell. You got a whole company with so many people involved in relation to just one bottle. So many people. What to talk about this creation? Such a fabulous, amazing creation. So detailed, so fascinating, with so much automation. The body is functioning in such an amazing way. You eat something and it gets digested, nutrients come out, and manure come out for recycling. Krishna's created such fascinating creation. So there's many people, starting with many godheads. And that's why Prabhupada says Krishna is not just Godhead. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Of all the Godheads, he's the supreme personality. But it's all him, non-different. Okay. Nalini Kanta, we are blessed to hear the Bhagavatam on auspicious Ekadasi. Yes, today's Ekadasi. Krishna is so kind to make us remember him by this Srimad Bhagavatam and our Srila Prabhupada giving us his purports and wonderful devotees like you, Prabhupada, explain so nicely, Mother Mantri, for the beautiful artwork. Yes. All to help us remember Krishna. We are grateful to Krishna for showing us his love so kindly. It is touching to see how much Krishna cares, making creation so we can return to him. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes. Shamananda Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhu Maharaj, for a nice class. Hare Krishna. Thanks for sharing Sansati pastime to explain desire. Yes. I think I went there once and that was it. I didn't go after that. Then I became a devotee and that was no. And then the desire already ran away. So yes, you get purified. And you'll see, when there is opportunity for sense gratification, your sleep runs away. You may be tired. I can give another example. I give another example, right? Okay, Mother gave me two. So I give you two examples. I'm at home. There's a program, TV program that's coming late at night, like 9 o'clock, 9:30. And my eyes are falling. I'm falling off the sleep. I'm tired. But when the TV program that I enjoy comes, sleep is gone. Yet if I want to study, tired. How many of us fall to sleep when we're taking prasad? But when chanting, we may doze off to sleep. So it's like that. When the mind is excited, no sleeping. So that's why we want to excite the mind about Krishna. Now, artificially, we cannot sustain it. We need to genuinely get attached to Krishna. We need to genuinely fall in love with Krishna. We need to genuinely become attracted to Krishna. That's why Krishna says, Man, Mana, Bhavamat Bhakto. Always think of me. Become attached to me. Surrender to me. Become my devotee. It's a cultivation. We are recultivating, reprogramming the mind's attachment. And when the mind becomes attached to Krishna, it's your best friend. Then you can thank your mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Lash, Hare Krishna. Thank you for this scientific, technical Krishna Kara. Such information overload. My mind is too puny to absorb it all. In truth, I've already forgotten most of it. Is there a diagram representation of this text? It's easier to understand if I can picture it unfold. Yes, we'll share that to you next week. In fact, the reason I didn't go into more detail because we already covered this in second canto. In the second canto, this creation already was also discussed. Also in relation to the 4 seed verses, this was discussed. So it was discussed again, and there also we showed a picture. We'll put a picture for you next week. So at least you can. The most important thing you have to remember, even if you forget everything. No creation, Nothing happens without my beloved Lord Krishna's involvement. That's all you need to remember. So when anyone tells you, yeah, creation by Big Bang, you can tell them, sorry, it's not by Big Bang, it's by my Lord's involvement. And if you want to know how my Lord creates, go read the section. Bafana, purports make the definition of false ego in relation to mode of nature, body, conceptualization, altruistic, and to philosophical mental speculation, and distinctively position taken by devotees willingly by a realization of servitude and love for Krishna, the proprietor of all. From gross false ego to subtle false ego, all bound by desire to enjoy, unlike devotees who are above all definition of false ego to its relation to material creation. I have not thought of the definition of false, I have not thought of the definition of ego and false ego goes so far as what Western physiology, psychology has taught from its material mode of the nature of goodness. Yes, that's why the Bhagavatam is the most comprehensive, most conclusive analysis of gross matter, the mind, the mental platform, the intellectual platform, the egoistic platform, the interaction of all of them, and the subtle nuances and changes of all of them. You're not going to get that anywhere. All schools of thought that exist originates from mental speculation. And some mental speculation touches the truth. Most mental speculation falls outside the truth. The Bhagavatam is covering all aspects of the truth in its greatest detail. And if we study that, you can basically understand people, natures, matter, its interaction, and ultimately the solution to leave and return back to the spiritual world. Ray Prabhu says, Hare Krishna, I am very slow picking up as a student. However, your class does improve my understanding as time goes on. Thank you, Prabhu. Only a pleasure. Even I'm very slow. So don't worry. There are people that are faster. There are people more astute. There are people more realized. I'm simply associating with the Bhagavatam. And by the mercy of the Bhagavatam, my intelligence get purified and I can pick up one or two things and I can remember. The most important thing is we are associating with Krishna. And if we do not understand or realize, not a problem. If I touch fire, I get burnt. Similarly, if I touch the Bhagavatam, I'm in touch with Krishna, I will get Krishnatized. I just need to touch Krishna. Understanding, not understanding, beyond my head, above my head, under my head is okay. I touch Krishna and I pray to Krishna, my Lord, you do whatever you have to do to me. However you decide, I will be happy to follow. And in this way, we simply continue and our life will become sublime and glorious. Bhantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Pramanande Hari Hari.